Okay, so I'm just going to jump into the S3 console now and just give you a quick overview of what we mean by an access control list, what we mean by a bucket policy, and how to create one. So just got a number of buckets here that I use for demonstration. So I've just got here, I'll just select one of these buckets here and have a look at it. So we can see here we've got a number of objects here in the bucket that I've already uploaded. So I'm just going to look at the properties for this bucket. So here we go. So if I look under permissions, and I can see I've already got an access control list already created for me by Amazon Web Services, by the S3 service. It already created that for me. I didn't have to do anything. So I can add another access control list to that. So I can click on here, add more permissions. And there I can put more on there if I need to, so I can guarantee, everyone access to it to view it, for example. Now we can also add a bucket policy to this bucket. So bucket policies, they apply at the bucket level, they're not applied at the object level. So apply across an entire bucket. So if we want to make this entire bucket to have read access to the entire public, that's what we can do, or we can do a whole range of things, quite fine-grained control that we have with a bucket policy. So I'll just click on that, which then opens up the bucket policy editor. So we can put our bucket policy in here, which is basically JSON code that we put in there. Or if we don't understand how to do that, we can use the AWS policy generator, or we can cut and paste some of the sample bucket policies that are available. So first off, looking at the sample bucket policies, we can see that we've got quite a number there. That we can use. All you do is just basically copy those and just change your bucket name or whatever you need to change to make that work for you. So I'm going to use the AWS policy generator. So that's quite a good service, because what it does, it really speeds up the process and really takes away any errors that you're going to have in manually writing up a JSON file for a bucket policy. So first thing we do is we select the type of policy, which is an S3 bucket policy. The effect is allow or deny. So we're going to, in this one, I'm going to just create full public access to make life easier. So the principal, now that's going to be the user or account or whatever that we're going to apply this bucket policy to. So we're just going to apply it to everyone, so the entire public. So that'll be a wildcard symbol to do that. Now the actions, so we need to select an action, and again to make, so there are a number of actions that we can select, so it's a very fine-grained control that you wouldn't get with an access control list. So that's what we mean by fine-grained control here. So we're just going to select all actions just to make life easier, which is probably something that you wouldn't normally do, but for the purposes of an example, we'll do that. So the ARN, the Amazon resource name for an S3 bucket, follows the following format, which we can see down here. So I'm just going to cut or copy and paste that across. Okay, so we've just got our ARN there set up in the format that it's supposed to be, and we can now, we're not going to add any further conditions, so that's an optional step, and we can now add that statement to our bucket policy. So there we can see the principals, everyone, the action is all actions on S3, and the resource there is our lab.backspace.academy bucket. So we can now generate that policy. And so there's our generated policy. So we can now copy and paste that over to our bucket policy editor. Okay, so there's our bucket policy that has been created, put in our bucket policy editor. We now click on save, and that will be uploaded. Okay, so there's our bucket policy that has been created there. So we'll just look at the edit bucket policy. You can see it's there, and I'll just delete that now. So another thing I want to have a look at now is just to show the differences between the properties of a bucket and an object. So just going to click on a object now. And if we go into permissions there, we can see that again we've got our access control lists, but we don't have the option there to put a bucket policy on. So there's a difference. So a bucket policy is applied at the bucket only, whereas an access control list will be applied at both the bucket level or at the object level. So that brings us to the end of the core knowledge that you require for Amazon S3. And hopefully we've got to that very quickly and got to as painless as possible. And I look forward to you in the next videos.